continuing with our book Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat, the summary of summaries of fiqh by Imam Ibn Balban, who was a Hanbali sheikh, and he wrote this very, very brief book on fiqh. We're using that as a skeleton to continue. So he says, وَمِن سُنَنِهِ, and from the sunnahs of wudu, he says, istiqbalul qibla, it is facing the qibla, وَسِوَاك, and doing the siwak, doing the miswak, وَبَدَاءَةٌ بِغَسْلِ يَدَيْ غَيْرِ قَائِمٍ مِنْ نَوْمِ لَيْلٍ, and starting with washing of the hands without waking up from sleep. وَيَجِبُ لَهُ ثَلَاثًا تَعَبُّدًا, and it is mandatory that you wash them 3 times. Okay, so let's break this down, inshallah. So if you remember, we did the ayah of wudu, those of you who were here, and then we also talked about the wudu of Uthman radiallahu anh. So what was the first action after Uthman radiallahu anh asked for the utensil for the wudu, which is called the wudu? He فَأَفْرَغَ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ مِنْ إِنَائِهِ, then he poured water from the utensil onto his hands. Like before, there was no taps, right? There were no taps. So you have water in a particular utensil, then you pour the water on your hands. فَأَفْرَغَ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ مِنْ إِنَائِهِ فَغَسَلَهُمَا ثَلَاثَ مَرَّاتٍ, then he washed his hands 3 times. Great. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِذَا استيقظ أحدكم, when any of you wake up, فَلْيَفْرُقْ عَلَى يَدِهِ ثَلَاثَ مَرَّاتٍ, then you should pour water on your hands 3 times. قَبْلَ أَنْ يُدْخِلَ يَدَهُ فِي إِنَائِهِ, before you put your hands in the utensil. So let's say there's a pot of wudu. He's saying before you stick your hands in the pot of water, wash your hands first. Like pour water from the utensil onto your hands, and then stick your hands in the pot of water. في إنائه فإنه لا يدري فيما باتت يده. And then because you don't know where your hands have been at night. When you sleep, when you wake up from night, wash your hands. Why do you think pour the water from the utensil before sticking the hands into the utensil? Why do you think that is? Exactly, not to contaminate. I think it's common sense. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands. So this concept doesn't necessarily apply to us, right? Because we can open up our tap and wash our hands. Nobody really cleans the handles of the taps, right? We should clean the handles of the tap because that would be from the sunnah. You take the water, you clean the handles of the tap, and then you wash your hands. So that would be emulating what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was doing. Make sense? Okay.
Question.
Yes.
The first time when you get up out of bed, the first time you wash your hands 3 times, this is away from the wudu. Yes. This is still just to.
I'll get there. Okay. I'll get there. He's excited student, mashallah. Always. Yes, this is not part of wudu. Okay, we will talk about that in a second, inshallah. So, remember I introduced some extra azkar which you typically don't hear that Imam al-Ghazali recommended that you do. So the first zikr we said after Bismillah, you make a zikr, and right now, while you're washing your hands, Imam al-Ghazali recommended that you make a dua, that you make a zikr. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-yumna wal-barakah. Oh Allah, I ask you for good luck, meaning prosperity, wal-barakah, and I ask you for barakah. Wa a'udhu bika min ash-shu'umi wal-halaka, and I ask you your protection from all kinds of bad luck and destruction. It's a beautiful dhikr. Okay? So as you're washing your hands, to remember Imam al-Ghazali, he's recommending a dhikr for every single action. So here, this is the dhikr of washing the hands. So how do you wash your hands? The hands also become your utensil, and we will use that later on. But according to Hanbalis, when you wake up in the morning, washing the hands 3 times is fard, is absolute. You have to do it. Okay? Okay. But according to Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, it is mustahab. It is sunnah to do it. It is sunnah. If you don't wash your hands first and immediately start to do gargle and cleansing your nose, it is fine. You don't have to wash your hands. So washing of the hands is an extra according to the majority, but according to Hanbalis, it is mandatory. Because we're having these classes, not just for, I'm going to just put a lot of information in your head, that's not the purpose. The purpose is what? To understand the why. Why do you think the Hanbalis are requiring it? That it is fard that you do it? Why? Think about it for a second. What were the ahadith? What was the hadith that we just covered? Sayyidina Uthman, yes, that's one. That he washed his hands first. Great. What is the number 2? Yes, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying what? When one of you gets up at night, then wash your hands 3 times, because you don't know where your hands have been. What does that tell you about Hanbalis? What do they prefer? I'll tell you. For them, for Hanbalis, and like I'm from one of them, for them, I mean, I'm trained in Hanbali fiqh. For them, Quran and Sunnah is one and the same. The commands that you get from Quran and Sunnah are a unit. Okay? So it doesn't matter if it's not in the Quran, but if it's in an authentic Sunnah, they will treat that as important. So if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam just washing his hands and people are watching him? Because that is one level of Sunnah. This is another level of Sunnah. He's actually commanding that you should wash your hands. So it's a commandment. When it becomes a commandment, what do you think? Yes, then generally speaking, it's more complicated than that, but I'm helping you understand how Hanbalis think. And why do Hanafis and Shafi'is and Malikis, why don't they do it? Because Hanafis and Shafi'is, they don't do it because it is not a rukun in the wudu. So it is an extra act that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do. Yes, when he commands it, they are saying it is a recommendation. It is not a must do, it is a should do. Make sense? Remember our fiqh intro in the beginning? It is a should do, not a must do. So that's how they look at it. Malikis, it's very simple. Same kind of concept. Okay? Yes, it is not in the ayah of the Quran. But Hanbalis, how are they thinking? They're saying all of this Quran and Sunnah together is the asl, right? Is the source. So hopefully you guys understand now. And you will see more and more of this. Inshallah, we will talk about interesting things later on. Okay? Okay, one piece of clarity. You have to wash it 3 times. This act, you cannot do it just once. By all the scholars, by all of them, all 4 of them. Why? Because it is not known that Rasulullah ﷺ did it only once. He did it 3 times. So it is done 3 times. This is what Ibn Balban is also saying. It is وَيَجِبُ لَهُ ثَلَاثًا تَعَبُّدًا. It is mandatory that you do it 3 times in obedience of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? All right. It is makruh to wash it more than 3 times. You can't wash it once. You have to do it 3 times. And it is, for the majority, it is sunnah. For Hanbalis, it is a fard. It is a rukn. You have to wash your hands 3 times. Is when you wake up at night. If you do wudu, for example, dhuhr or asr or maghrib or isha, it is not fard according to Hanbalis. It becomes sunnah. Clear? Is that clear? It's only fard when you wake up.
Even if you sleep at night and daytime?
It is not clear. If you want to follow the Hanbali way, I would wash your hands anyway. Bottom line, regardless of what they're saying, just wash your hands. Just wash your hands. It is sunnah. It is mustahab. Yes.
Whatever called a sleep, it's a deep sleep. It is a sleep.
Yeah. Okay. The other concept. What did Ibn Balban, Sheikh Ibn Balban tell us? Istiqbalul qibla, facing the qibla. He said it is from the sunnah. Okay. Let's understand that. Majority of the scholars, they recommend that when you do wudu, you face the qibla. Majority. Why? Because they say wudu is an ibadah, and all ibadas, it is preferred, they call it sunnah or mustahab, it is preferred that you face the qibla in ibadah. Also, it is the opposite. So wudu is what? It is cleansing yourself, right? It's ritual purity. When do you lose ritual purity? Do you lose wudu? When you go to the bathroom. In the bathroom, are you facing the qibla? No. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, face away from the qibla when you go to the bathroom. So when you are doing the opposite act, which is cleansing yourself, when you turn away from the qibla when you go to the bathroom, you face the qibla when you are doing the wudu. Okay, so this is only preferred, okay? Your wudu is still valid if you don't do it otherwise. However, there is zero evidence that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam faced the qibla and did the wudu. There's zero evidence for that. There is also zero evidence of any ijma', any consensus in the companions of the tabi'een that they face the qibla, then they do it. So the correct opinion is, it is not from the sunnah. Meaning, doing it is not wrong, but saying it is sunnah is not technically correct. Okay? Alright? But the majority of the scholars, they recommend, scholars, not the first or second generations of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah knows best. Okay, great. How do you wash your hands? You wash the right hand first, correct? Okay. So this is called tayammun, starting from the right hand side. Starting from the right hand side is called, just like tayammum, this is tayammun, starting from the right hand side. Why is it called this? Well, hadith, Muslim, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يحب التيمم. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to love tayammun, meaning loved to start everything from the right hand side. في طهوره, in his tahara, meaning whether it be wudu or ghusl. إذا تطهر, whenever he cleansed himself. وفي ترجله, when he combed his hair. إذا ترجل وفي انتعاله إذا انتعل, and when he wore his shoes, he wore the right shoe first and then the left. This is called tayammun. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did that with everything, entering the home, entering the masjid. Whatever you do, start with the right hand. Now the lefties might be like, okay, what about us? We're lefties. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. It is not wrong. It is not wrong if that is naturally your preference. But if you have love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will try to do everything with the right hand side. You will train yourself to do it. If you ignore it, maybe it's okay, but then you don't really are trying. If you tried and it's still not as working, that is completely different story. But if you don't even try, and I'm not a lefty, so I'm not going to speak for the lefties. I'll let a lefty. Do we have any lefty hands? Okay. Tell me, educate me. I want to know. Is it? Can you train yourself to start with the right hand? Okay.
It's definitely hard at first. I always grew up like eating with my left hand, doing everything with my left hand, but now I do it with my right.
Yeah.
But I still write with my left hand.
Yeah, you're writing with the left hand. Yeah, it's not wrong. Don't chastise people who are left-handed. It's
It's
completely.
hard at first.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah.